Underdog Collectibles is an online shop run for collectors by collectors. Join them every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night as they break new products, talk sports, and hopefully you'll pull a great hit to add to your collection. This week they'll be breaking Bowman Sapphire, Obsidian Football, and Elite Basketball. Check them out at www.udogcollect.com and tell them WaxPackHero sent you. Remember, always bet on the underdog. You're listening to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute, a podcast where we discuss both the hobby and business sides of collecting. I'm your host, Mike Summer, and I want to help you buy, sell, and trade your way into a collection you'll love. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. As you know, I like to spend a lot of time talking about how I combine both the hobby and business sides of collecting, my personal experience, what's worked well for me, and what hasn't when it comes to creating a self-sustaining hobby. Today, I want to bring on one of my friends, Big Shep, because he does something similar, but from a slightly different angle. He has a few differences in his approach, some of the ways that he's got his system set up that I want to talk about with him, and I want to expose all of you guys to, just to add a different perspective and a different alternative, some other things that you might want to consider as you try to create a self-sustaining hobby for yourself. And so without further ado, here's that conversation with Big Shep. So welcome to the show, Tim. I know that from, our prior conversations and the interaction we've had and some of the things that you've shared on your show, that you collected as a kid. You, like many of us, took a break and re-entered the hobby several years ago. But, as far as the topic that we were hitting on today, at what point did you start to do some of that buying and selling?
Well, when I got back in 2012, it was consistently buying. I want to say I started listing and being a little more active in selling in about 2014. But it was a card here or there, or I pulled something really big. I think one of the first big cards I ever sold was the Chris Bryant Bowman Chrome Redemption blue out of 150. That it was going to be out of 2014 Bowman, I think it was, and sold that. And because I didn't know if the card was ever going to come, and it was getting quite a bit of money, and so that helped pay for other cards I wanted to be able to pick up and purchase. But really in the last, I would say, 2 years, starting in fall of 2018, is where I really got into, okay, I can take a bunch of inventory that I've collected over all these years and turn it into real money that I can go and buy stuff that I've really wanted my entire life, or help the collection that I've really inspired to have. And part of that started with the local card shop when I'd go in saying, hey, here's a few thousand cards, you can have them, and going through and seeing, their base or inserts, and knowing that there's a market for those and how to put those out. So it's that kind of started the thing. And then I got hooked up with, then I started talking to some more people and wanted to get hooked up with a distributor to get some new product and be able to do that and also do supplies. And so that happened in April of 2019.
So those first cards that you talked about, the Chris Bryant and that, was that strictly on eBay then? Is that where you were selling those, some of those initial cards?
My initial sales and stuff were done through eBay. It'd be, like I said, the Bryant was a one-off, but it'd be a card here or there, some, an autograph or a patch card that, could get, my thing was like, if I can get more than $20 for it and I'm not super attached to it, then let's move it and be able to take that money and then go buy some other stuff that I, mostly George Brett cards, that I wanted. And so that's what I did. And it was strictly eBay for a long time. And then I got the courage once to pack up 1,600 cards and mail them into ComC and start a ComC account, which did really well. In 2019, I had a bunch of old stuff on there that hadn't been selling, that had been on the site for a number of years. And so I just sold the port altogether. and took that money and and then some other eBay sales I had, and started what I call TBS sports cards. So I actually got a business license and a state reseller license here in California to start doing that, so I could work with the distributors. So I took all of those funds and put them into my business side of collecting.
So you started that, some of that reselling, it sounds like, with again, you said, with additional duplicate cards or extra cards out of your collection, things that didn't really mean much to you, and that's what generated your initial inventory.
Yeah. So like I went through and I decided, you know, you, I got into the back end, and it was like trying to collect everything. And I found out at a certain point, it just can't happen. I had baseball, basketball, football, and I'm like, okay, what do I really want to collect? And so once I narrowed that focus down, I had all this other great stuff that I know other people would want to have in their collections. And so it came to the point where it's like, okay, how do I get this out there and turn this into some money? And I started to do that and build up a fund to really start funding to do more of it, and not have to take any paycheck money, real life money, and put it into cards anymore. I can use inventory I already have to create that stream of income.
So you talked about eBay, you talked about ComC, and then ultimately selling off that port. If I'm not mistaken, you've also set up at local shows from time to time.
Yeah. So right after I got the business license and state reseller license, I was able to set up at a local card shows. And so I reached out to the two guys that run the big one here in town, and they said, hey, we're not sure if we have any tables or whatever. And I said, well, Greg, who owns the LCS, said you guys could help me out. And when I kind of dropped that, Greg gave him a call. All of a sudden, I went from having no chance to having two tables, and setting up and spending $90 to set up all day. And I've been to the show for so long, I know what sellers are normally there, and no one had good quarter boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is a market, and this is the stuff I have that I think will kill. So I went through and I sorted out all three sports by team. And then I went through baseball specifically and pulled about 25 or 30 real big stars from the 70s, 80s, and 90s and today that I knew people would be looking for, like from Mike Schmidt to Giancarlo Stanton, Yelich and Robin Yount, and put those all in a box. And then everybody else was by team, and it wasn't commons. It was other, star players or fan favorites. It was rookie cards and prospect cards and inserts and numbered cards and color parallels and, food issue and oddball stuff, all went into these boxes. And then I made team dividers that had team names on them and team colors, and started setting up. And it was, hey, a quarter a card, 5 for $1, 100 cards for $15. And then I had a dollar box, which was, a little better cards. And that's it. I didn't have like any other priced cards. I mean, it was very, very simplistic. And I found I had people sitting at my tables for an hour or two.
Mm-hmm.
The first time this one guy bought 500 cards.
Mm-hmm.
From me. He spent the entire day almost at my table going through in cards. And so that, just kept building on it. And then people were asking me, hey, that's when I started meeting some more people and saying, hey, can I dump base off on you? And I was like, yeah, you can dump base off on me. I'll take free inventory all day long, because I like to go through cards, and sometimes you'll find some special stuff in there that they didn't see. And I'll find some cool stuff that I don't have for my PC, and then we'll turn and flip it. And the cards cost me no money, so I don't feel bad if I even sold them for 10 cents. It's still a profit to me, and it's still involving the cards, which I love to do.
So of these various platforms that you hit on, that you have sold on as you got back into it, how much of that progression or that movement from platform to platform was just you kind of getting bored and wanting to try something new, or was a part of that experimenting and learning from each of those? Was part of it, hey, I tried this on one platform and based on what I had or the way I was doing it, it didn't work out as well for me. So I wanted to adapt or adjust my strategy, adjust my approach to try something different, to find something that does work for me. How much of that was just kind of expansion versus progression of strategy?
Yeah, it was more evolution, because it was like, hey, I'm gonna try something and see what sticks to the wall. With ComC, when I first hopped on there, it was, here's a bunch of cool old stuff, from the 80s and or 90s, and let's see if it sells. And it truly didn't do all that well. And so I learned, okay, my best bet on that site would probably be to fund an account and then go buy current stuff on there, and that I find at a lower price and flip it there. I think that's, to me, that's the best, unless you live in Washington where you can drop it off to them. The their fees are reasonable, don't get me wrong, but for what I want to do, that cost is a little high. So buying cards already on there, I kind of learned that's probably the best strategy for me. eBay was a fun one to learn on, because I you make mistakes in pricing, shipping, and how to list cards. And it wasn't until I decided I was going to purchase an eBay store and pay that fee to have X number of listings and have certain benefits that the store provides versus other, just having a basic account. And it was reaching out to other sellers that I'd followed and asked them questions like, hey, how did you set this up? How did this happen? As far as like multiple listings and being able to do that, because before I was listing all the inserts individually instead of saying, hey, you can shop the 1984 insert set from 2019 Topps, card 1 to 50. I was listing card 1 through 15, so I was taking 50 listings and
Yep.
50 scans of cards. And so doing that and asking questions. I mean, I recently got, I've been I've had an addiction to sport lots in the last 6 months that's been pretty bad, and but in a good way, because I'm buying cards for like 18 cents and finishing all these sets I've been wanting to finish for years. And I reached out, and you were one of the resources I reached out and just said, hey, can you help me price my shipping? Because I don't know if I'm priced effectively. And I looked at, there was a couple sellers I bought a lot from. I went to your store and a couple other stores, guys I know that are sell on there, and kind of saw how they were pricing and listed cards, and just from series 1 and 2 of this year. And I've had, I don't know, 15 or 16 pretty decent sales out of there with just listing one set, and I have many more to do. And so I think it's one of those things you just have to dive in and try it out, and then ask questions and figure it out and find a good resources, because they're out there. So it was more kind of just with me was an evolution process, and then trying to get away from the eBay fees. I even looked into opening my own Shopify store to post stuff, to get away from all the fees from everybody, and just basically pay, you pay their fee but they host it and everything, and they're doing all the security protection, and you're just putting your things on there. But it's less than what it was with all the fees through PayPal and eBay and all that. I just don't have, it got to the point where working with the distributor and the pricing of hobby boxes and wax is so just at a next level than it was 2 years ago, that wasn't going to be feasible at this point in time. So.
Yeah, I think you hit on something that's key there, and that is you found what was going to work for you by experimenting, trying new things, and having some conversations with other hobby resources who have experience on those platforms to see what works best and if that's going to work for you too. I think that's important. If we could hit on just for a second that process of getting your kind of business license, reseller certificate, and then getting established with a distributor. That's not something a lot of kind of everyday collectors have pursued, in my experience. That seems to be mostly reserved for people who are doing cards full time as a business, or as a very significant business focus. How difficult of a process was that? And were there certain things that you had to show or to prove, or was there additional registration fees and things that, I know every state might be different, every location might be a little bit different with that, but what was that process like, both from a business license perspective and then starting a relationship with a distributor? And did you have a resource that you used to explore that process?
Yeah, I definitely had a resource. Dan Anderson from Mojo Break. I was just watching him break one day, and I mentioned something about it in the chat. I was at work, and I usually have some kind of music on or something in the background. And that day I just happened to have Mojo Break on while I was doing spreadsheet work, because I do a lot better when I have, something in the, it keeps my mind fresh when I'm working anyway. And so I said something in chat about working with a distributor or whatever. And he said, hit me up, Shep. And so later that day, we went back and forth into some DMs, and, he said, hey, we work with, one of the ones we work with, I think that would work well with you, is Southern Hobby out of Reno. And I said, okay. He's like, my guy's name's Andrew. I'll send you his info. You can reach out to him and talk to him. And I'll also send him a note saying, like, hey, like, Shep's a good guy. Like, he's one of our guys. And so I did that, and Andrew sent back instantly sent back an email with, here's what you need to fill out. Here's what you need to have for us to work, and then we'll talk. And so I had to go to the state and get a state reseller's license, which basically was going online and fill out a form with my information. And there was a really small fee, I believe, for it. I want to say it was like under $30 to do. And then I set up a business license within the city of Citrus Heights where I live. And that varies based on either your county or your city. And again, that was very nominal. It was around $20-25. So it wasn't all that much of an investment to get these two things. And then I sent all the paperwork in to Andrew, filled out their form with all my info. And he got back to me and called me on the phone. He said, hey, listen, now this is what happens is that, we have all these products and supplies. We'll have an account online for you. You're able to pre-order at our costs, and then go from there, and kind of explain like some of the hot categories. Board game, like odd stuff like board games and gaming cards like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff are very popular and easy way to make. And he walked me through, hey, I know you know sports cards, but if you get into this other stuff too, you could make some money. And at that point in time, and still today, it's not my forte. And so I'm not one to take money and invest into something that I'm not sure of in the market. I much rather I know sports cards, so I can tell like, okay, what can turn and what can I turn and burn and make a few bucks on it. So I strictly stuck with sports cards, but because I wasn't buying tens of thousands of dollars a month, they limited on what I can purchase, which is fine, and I understand. I get allocated, more often than not, but I'm still get a few boxes here and there. The supplies, on the other hand, awesome. I can get, when they were in stock, yeah. I could get them all the time at a very reasonable price, and I try to pass that along to hobby friends and other people and sell them online. And the one thing I found out with supplies, though, no matter how good your pricing is, shipping is what kills you. Because the weight of the supplies, unless somebody's buying in bulk, it's really hard to ship. It's really not affordable to ship 3 packs of top loaders economically. And so I kind of started phasing that part out, unless it was somebody that was a hobby brother or something, like where someone reached out and said, hey, I need 25, I need 10 10 boxes of top loaders or whatever it happens, 10 packages of top loaders, whatever it happens to be. And I say, okay, well, it's going to, you probably want to order maybe 15 to make it worth your while, because shipping is going to break it. And so just working with distributor, though, I'll get emails and it says, Panini's, they'll list Panini's new pre-orders are out. And you put in how many you want to order at their price and submit, and then cross your fingers that you're going to get any. and Tops is so far out. Tops is like 5 or 6 months out. Like I've already gotten my allocation for update, and that was before Series 2 dropped.
Okay.
And for me, the craziest thing is seeing what the pre-order price is versus what the current market price is. And and I try to spend as much as I can with distributors, but the problem is just that I'm not spending thousands of dollars a month with them. I mean, we had Brent Williams on our show 2 weeks ago on About the Cards, and he said his $1 million a year spend now with his distributor isn't even in the top 50 with them.
Right.
Which scared me, because I'm like, I'm like a few thousand a year with mine. So I'm like, but I get what I get, and I'll do with it. So that's kind of slowed down, and I've had to refocus now back into, okay, the new stuff, unless you get it instant, like, you get it at pre-order price, it's not worth buying and selling or opening. It's better to stick to singles and pick up lots and pick up finds on Craigslist, or Let It Go or Offer Up or any of those things with the card shop, when someone dumps off stuff and you take a trunk load of cards home and hope the wife doesn't kill you while you sort through them.
So one of the other things that comes up a lot whenever I'm talking about the buying and selling that I do is a question about how much time am I spending on that in relation to my day job and family commitments and all of those other things too, because as we know, we've got to keep all of those things in the right balance. So I was just curious about, how much time do you feel like you're spending per week on the buying and selling aspect?
Well, I've really, I have 2 little kids under 2. My little guy's a little over 2 now, but so it's a blessing now that I'm working from home because of COVID, and I'm able to finagle some more time to be able to ship during my workday when I'm on back to back Zoom calls about I'm into health insurance, so we have carrier updates, and so it's something that I already read in an email, but someone's now just reading the email to me. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of carve out some time then, but most of the time is I work all day until 5, and then we have family time really from 5 to about 8:30 by the time the kids are down, and then I'll be up from 9 to midnight or so. So I'd say it's about 3 hours a day during the week. So we're looking 15 hours, and then on the weekends I try not to do anything with cards except for late Sunday night, and when everybody's gone to bed, because my wife has to work early on Monday mornings, so she goes to bed early. So Sunday nights, some maybe 15-20 hours a week, and it's my relaxing time. Like, I like sorting cards, going through them, listing them, putting them out for sale, that kind of stuff. It relaxes me. I don't know, ever since I was a kid. So
cool. How about just curious from some people, the other question that I get a lot is it worth it? And I have that same kind of conversation of, hey, part of this is I enjoy it, and so there is a piece of that relaxation and just pure enjoyment of doing the buying and the selling. But also there's the financial aspect. And for me, as we've talked about, I have been able to successfully offset the cost of my own collection through this buying and selling. I was just curious if you're willing to share, has that been, not necessarily specifics, but have you found success in doing that? Are you achieving the financial goals of this buying and selling process that you had kind of set for yourself?
Yeah, and I'll give you a prime example. So Series 2 Tops came out, and through my distributor, I was getting 1 jumbo box and 1 hobby box. That's it. And I ordered a case of each. I was pissed about it, so I called my card shop and I said, Greg, I need a case of jumbo or hobby. And he's like, and this is right after I found out what I was getting, so this was months ago. And he said, I can give you a case of hobby, and I can give it to you for $750. And I said, sold, done deal. And so I ended up selling like half of those boxes. And I sold 6 of the boxes, and I opened the other 6. And from what I pulled from the other 6, and then I ended up getting my distributor called the day of release and said, hey, listen, Tim, we have 2 more hobby and 2 more jumbo for you. Do you want them? I said, sure, send them my way. And then I opened all the jumbo, and I set one of the hobby right side for my son. So I ended up opening 8 hobby and 3 jumbo. And I spent about a little over $1,000. I think it was $1,100 for all the cards. With what I sold the 6 boxes for, and just the inserts and a few of the autographs, I paid off all of those cards within a week. And just doing sales on eBay, because I got on early. I listed all of my inserts on eBay, and I looked at the market, and everybody was like at $1.50 or more for inserts. I put all my inserts at $1. And PWE 75 cents shipping. You buy multiple, an extra card's 15 cents. And so went through, and I got to keep 16 Luis Robert rookie cards. I built 4 Series 2 sets for myself, and set those aside. And all that was free. And I still have all the base cards that I've been selling on ComC, that I've been selling on Sport Lots for 18 cents a piece. And that's just additional monies coming in from that one particular just sale. I have 2. I was picked in the raffle, which, by the way, thank you, Tops, for doing that raffle, because I think a lot of real hobby people actually got boxes of the flashback. I don't know if you took advantage of it, Mike, with I think you have the Montgomery Club, right? And took advantage of picking some of those up. I have 2 boxes that'll be at my door Monday. And I've already had offers on my 2 boxes I spent $55 on. And I can, with even the overnight shipping I paid for, selling one box is going to make me about $60. And then the other box is free, or I can sell it. And so it's just kind of like, I would love to open it.
Yeah. But
the guy inside of me now says, dude, just sell it and then go buy the couple cards you want out of it,
Yep.
So it's fun, because when it can be a little stressful if you look at it as a daunting task to go through all the product, but I don't. I enjoy that, and listing, I like doing that. And some people don't, so it's not for them, and that's why they dump everything else on somebody else. But it's fun when you can take something that is fun to you, but you're not beholden to, like, you're not like involved in, like you're not in love with it, but you can sell it off to somebody else that might, and then turn around and buy something you love, and then you're like, I have this piece now. Like, this is in my collection. This is never going to leave. That's really fun, and been my favorite part. And so it can be done, but you just have to be. You can't overextend yourself, and when the PayPal starts to get below a certain amount, I stop the buying, and then try to amp up the selling. I'll review stuff that I've pulled back and haven't sold yet, and I'll say, I should probably sell this. And I did that. Was that last week? I sold 10 cards and did a couple $1,000.
So
I've just been sitting on.
Yeah, so it's clear that if you're gonna do it, it is gonna take some work, and you have to be willing to put in a little bit of work, do some extra paperwork, track your sales so that you'll know how much profit you may need to report on your taxes, all of that type of stuff, right? Like, that's all a part of doing it successfully. But in your assessment of what you've attempted and tried over the last few years, if somebody is willing to put in a little work and kind of enjoys that sorting and listing and pulling process, would you say that pretty much anybody can do it if they're willing to put in a little work?
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing is, I hear a lot of people say, well, I make $22 an hour in my day job, and so I expect to do that with car. It's not going to happen. So if you're expecting that return on, you're giving up your time to do it. You're not going to make that money back. But again, what else would you be doing in that time? TikTok, video games, watching, Grey's Anatomy, whatever you're doing. All things I'm guilty of, by the way. But that's the time you're giving up to do this part. You have to say, I'm not going to, quote, take a salary to do this. I'm doing this for free, just for the love of the cards. So you have to look at it that way. And the biggest one of you said, keep track. Chris Torres at CRT_sports cards has an awesome Excel sheet that he provides, and you can get from him if you want. And I modified it a little bit for my needs, but I keep track of all of my sales, like the date I sell it, the card, the series, the card, what avenue I sell it. If it's SportLots.com, eBay, if I sell it on Twitter, and all the fees, and it calculates everything for me. And then I have a profit and loss at the end of the month. I can look and say, okay, based on what I pay, and I have a sheet that lists what I paid for the cards, and if they were free, then that column has a 0, which is nice. And then at the end of the month, it lists what I've made and what I've lost. There's some losses on there, but hey, that happens. It's not all going to be it's all going to be gravy, and you're going to learn. You're going to take some lumps. I mean, there was one time where I sold some top loaders for like $6, and it'd be like I told the guy $10, and it cost me $9 to ship it to him.
Yep.
So I lost a few bucks there, but it's that lesson then teaches you not to make that mistake or that error again. And okay, you paid for a lesson with actual money, and that happens. I mean, it's business, all that stuff, so you just get better at it. And there's tons of resources out there, and I'm always willing to help out and assist, or point you in the right direction, or get you in the the right hands. So, and I know right now getting with a distributor is pretty much they're not accepting new customers. From what I heard, I got lucky to get into a local one here about 6 months ago. It was up the street from my office before they stopped taking new folks. So
cool. Well,
yeah.
Any other tips or suggestions that you'd have for somebody who wants to maybe put a little more attention to that selling aspect, to try to be a little more self-sustaining? Any other kind of final thoughts that you've got for people who are looking to take it a little more seriously?
Yeah. Real quick recap. Assess what you have, okay? And be realistic about what you have. And then define your collection of what you can't ever get rid of. Now, if everything in your collection's up for grabs, awesome. Start with the stuff that you care the least about and work up, and work your way back. Because there's some times where, like, I sold a Zion card I never thought I would sell, but the price was right, and I was like, cool, that card's gone. Do that, and then look at your life and say, how much time can I actually dedicate to this, and is it going to affect my job, your paycheck job? Is it going to affect my relationships with my significant other, my family, my kids? If they're all, by the way, they have to be on board. Your family has to be on board for you to do this, because if not, it's not going to work, and it will be an issue later on. And then go, okay, how am I going to make sure that I don't, you have to set my suggestion is if you're going to start this, start before you really get involved, just offload a few things right now and get a few $100 into a PayPal account, or set up a separate, checking account, or whatever you want to do for those funds only. Or if you get like a bonus check at work or whatever, right? Get a few $100, just $200-$300, and put that in there as a start fund to help if you have to do any business license, anything like that, get supplies, those kind of things, get that set up, and then build on top of that, and let that kind of be your nest egg, and then pay yourself back. Once you get, you double the money, pay yourself back, And then you start with this clean slate of this money from now on all goes to cards. That will be a world of help to you to have a separate account just for that. I've got a PayPal business account with a debit card, and that's been the best thing ever, because whenever I do purchases or anything like that, I go to the baseball card shop. I use my PayPal debit card because it takes the money out of there. I can transfer to my real bank if I ever needed to, and I can get money out of the ATM, whatever. It's awesome. It was free. I just had to have the business side of it set up. So that's kind of those would be my first few steps, and then go from there.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks, Tim. I appreciate your time. I hope people can get something out of this. I know they can feel free, like you said, to reach out to you if they've got any additional questions. And I'm always happy to help people talk through the basics of kind of whatever platform they're looking at that I've got experience selling on. So thanks again for coming on.
Oh, anytime, Mike. You know that, bud.
Thanks again to Tim for coming on. The information that he shared about connecting with the distributor, the experience that he's had trying to buy and sell supplies in addition to cards, those are some of the things that I was talking about that we don't hear a lot about. We don't often hear people talking about buying and selling those things or having that distributor relationship. So I thought that might be interesting for everyone to hear a little bit more about. Let me know what you think at WaxPackHero@gmail.com. Leave a comment on the blog post entry page for the podcast episode show notes page, and follow me on Twitter at @TheMikeSummer. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. You can also follow Big Shep as well. I will have all of his contact information in the show notes as well. Don't forget to check out the Hobby Hotline every Saturday morning and Monday evening, where we hear from you, the listener, and hear what topics are on your mind, what questions are on your mind, whether it's about general set collecting, player collecting, a specialty within the hobby, or even questions about buying and selling. We'd love to talk with you and hear what's on your mind. Well, that is all I've got for you today, so I will catch you next time.